Have you ever seen those weird squiggly lines in leaves of plants? The ones that look like something from a kindergartner's attempt at tracing. Well, we're going to be taking a closer look at just what those are and what it means to plants in today's episode of Insects for Fun. Leaf miners aren't a single species or even a single group of insects. Instead, the term leaf miner describes the lifestyle of a variety of insects that have independently evolved similar behaviors. This phenomenon, known as convergent evolution, means that different species have developed similar traits because they live in similar environments or have similar ecological roles. Leaf miners can belong to several different orders of insects, including Lepidoptera, which would be moths and butterflies, Diptera, which are flies, Coleoptera, beetles, and Hymenoptera, wasps and bees. The most common leaf miners are moths and flies. However, there are also notable beetle and wasp species that exhibit leaf mining behaviors. These insects can be found in almost every part of the world, from tropical rainforests to temperate woodlands, and even in arid deserts. Their name comes from their habit of living inside the leaves of plants, where they carve out tunnels and chambers as they feed. These tunnels are often visible as winding, discolored trails on the surface of leaves, making them relatively easy to spot if you know what you're looking for. Leaf miners are not restricted to any single type of plant. In fact, they have been found on a wide variety of plant species, including trees, shrubs, flowers, and even grasses. Some leaf miners are highly specialized and will only target a specific type of plant, while others are more generalist and can infest a range of plant species. The common factor among them is that they all require a leaf to burrow into, which provides them both food and shelter. The evolutionary roots of leaf miners are deep and diverse. Because this feeding strategy has evolved multiple times, we see a wide range of adaptations across different species. Some leaf miners have developed extremely narrow and specialized host-plant relationships, evolving alongside their host plants in a process known as coevolution. Others have remained more general and they're able to exploit a wider range, as mentioned earlier. In the grand tapestry of insect evolution, leaf miners represent a fascinating example of how different lineages can converge on similar solutions to life's challenges. The ability to mine leaves offers protection from predators as the insects are hidden within the leaf tissue, and also provides a steady food supply. However, this lifestyle comes with its own sets of challenges, as we'll see when we discuss their life cycles and behaviors. The life of a leaf miner is one of subtlety and stealth. These insects can spend the majority of their lives concealed within the leaves of their hosts, where they feed, grow, and develop. The most obvious sign of their presence is the telltale trails or blotches they leave behind. The specific pattern of feeding can vary depending on the species, and professionals are often able to identify the type of leaf miner based on the trails. Granted, they know the local populations well. For a novice, like me, it's difficult to tell exactly what kind of leaf miner is causing the damage, because similar shapes and patterns can be seen across species, and even orders, like flies and moths. There are three different types of patterns often seen in leaf mining insects. The first would be serpentine trails. These are winding trails that start on the thinner side and become more wide as the larvae grow inside. The second type would be blotches. Some leaf miners create irregular blotchy patterns on leaves where they eat large sections of leaf tissue. These mines can appear as discolored, translucent, or brown patches on the leaf. The last main kind of pattern often seen would be clear or white centers in the leaf. These trails or blotches typically have a lighter, sometimes almost clear or white center, where the larva has consumed the leaf tissue, leaving only the epidermis intact. Leaf miners are generally solitary, with each larva occupying its own mine. However, in some cases, multiple larvae may inhabit the same leaf, each creating its own distinct trail. The larvae continue to feed and grow within the leaf until they reach maturity, at which point they either pupate within the mine or emerge to pupate elsewhere. It really depends on the species. One of the most intriguing behaviors of leaf miners is their ability to manipulate the plant's physiology to their advantage. You see, some species can induce the plant to produce more nutritious tissue. or even suppress the plant's defense mechanisms. This manipulation ensures that the leaf miner has a steady supply of food as it develops. Despite their small size and hidden lifestyle, leaf miners are highly efficient at what they do. Their ability to exploit the internal tissues of leaves allows them to avoid many of the dangers that other insects face, such as predators and harsh environmental conditions. However, this lifestyle also makes them highly dependent on their host plants, which can lead to complex interactions between the miner, the plant, and other organisms in the ecosystem. The life of a leaf miner begins when a female lays her eggs on or near the surface of a leaf. The location and method of egg laying can vary depending on the species. Some lay eggs on the underside, where they are less likely to be detected, and others insert their eggs directly into the leaf tissue using specialized ovipositors. Once the tiny eggs hatch, the larvae begin to burrow into the leaf. At this stage, the larvae are incredibly small and delicate, making the protection offered by the leaf's interior crucial for their survival. As they feed, they carve out tunnels or blotches, consuming the leaf's mesophyll cells, the soft green tissue between the leaf's outer layers. The larval stage is the most active period in the leaf miner's life cycle. During this time, the larvae grow rapidly, molting several times as they increase in size. The feeding patterns of the larvae are not random either. They often follow specific paths that maximize their access to the most nutritious parts of the leaf, while avoiding the tougher, less digestible veins. Once the larvae have reached their full size, they enter the pupal stage. In some species, the larvae pupate within the leaf mine itself, creating a small protected chamber where they undergo metamorphosis. In others, the larvae exit the leaf, drop to the ground, and pupate in the soil or leaf litter. After a period of pupation, the adult leaf miner emerges, ready to begin the cycle again. Adult leaf miners are typically short-lived, with their primary goal being to find a mate and lay eggs. Because the adult stage is relatively brief, many species of leaf miners produce multiple generations per year, especially in warmer climates where the growing season is best. This rapid and efficient life cycle allows leaf miners to exploit their host plants to the fullest, often completing several generations in a single grow season. However, it also means that leaf miners must be closely synchronized with the life cycles of their plants, as they rely on the availability of fresh, tender leaves for their larvae to feed on. Living inside a leaf provides leaf miners with a certain level of protection, but it doesn't make them invulnerable. These insects face a variety of dangers, from predators and parasitoids to the plant's own defense mechanisms. Over millions of years, leaf miners have evolved a range of strategies to survive in their leafy world. One of the primary defense mechanisms is their cryptic lifestyle. As mentioned throughout this episode, simply by living inside a leaf, they're offered a great level of protection from many predators, like birds and larger insects. The mines they create can also be difficult to detect, especially in the early stages when the larvae are incredibly small. In addition to this, though, some leaf miners have developed the ability to manipulate the plant's defenses. For example, certain species can suppress the production of defensive chemicals, allowing them to feed without triggering the plant's natural responses. I've mentioned in previous episodes, no insect is truly safe from a parasitoid, and that is especially true for insects that feed on plants. Because plants and parasitoids have a powerful and chemical relationship, the plants know who they're going to call when something starts eating their green. The good news for plants, though, is that leaf miners can't actually kill them, and the damage is essentially restricted to a single leaf. But it can reduce the number of edible leaves on crops. Most people just prune off the leaves that have a miner, or they cover their plants to prevent insects from laying eggs. But to be honest, the methods people use to protect their crops from more infamous pests will be enough to keep leaf miners out. And that's gonna wrap up this episode. I'm surprised we actually made it through an entire episode without mentioning a specific species, but then again, leaf mining is so broad that I think it's okay. As always, please go rate the show on Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you stream. And go check out the Patreon for more content like bonus episodes and ad-free episodes for as low as $5 a month. And thank you again for listening.